So WrestleMania 41 season has gone totally nuts, and I guess it was always going to happen. Now we shall talk about the real things, I suppose, to begin with, which is a stupid way to put it. And the big conversation that's taken over social media this weekend is everything with Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Now we do need to put an asterisk on this. There's every chance that we've been duped, we've been worked. It is professional wrestling, but there's always going to be rumors after the fact. That's just what people do, especially on social media. So if I were you, I would try and do what is the best way to do, which is a really stupid sentence, and that's to watch the segment for yourself and make up your own mind. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. It doesn't really matter because wrestling is the most important of the non-important things. All I know when I went through it is it was very awkward. I think I said this on What Culture Ups and Downs for SmackDown. You can check that over there. Please subscribe to me as well. But it felt like watching an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm in the sense I didn't get much enjoyment out of it. It didn't feel... some people have gone the other way. Some people are now more intrigued about their match at WrestleMania. I felt more that way after the brawl that we did a couple of weeks ago. I think you could just tell that barbs were being shot, at least this was my take on it, that, barbs were being shot and the other person didn't much appreciate them, but then had decided, I think based on that, down the line interview we did recently too, where Charlotte did feel like she pushed Tiffany Stratton a lot and Tiffany wasn't ready for it, that this time she had decided, well, if you do that again, I'm absolutely going to come back at you. And the really odd part was that Charlotte said you could have the last word and then didn't let her have the last word. And that's when I was like, that doesn't really make sense in terms of a story that you would write. And then, of course, yes, Tiffany Stratton got into talking about her divorces, or at least making comments about that. Didn't really mention it specifically, but that was the idea. And then Charlotte Flair mentioned her relationship with Ludwig Kaiser. Now, look, if you're not a nerd like me, you're probably not even watching videos like this, totally understand why you'd be absolutely baffled. Like, what are you talking? Ludwig Kaiser? Why is he in this feud? And that's the only reason I have to assume that maybe it went off the rails a little bit. Now, I put this on my Twitter as well, cheap plug, Simon316. I don't think we should be talking about the human being, Charlotte Flair or Ashley Flair, whatever her real name is. And actually, I don't know if Tiffany Stratton's name is Tiffany Stratton. Probably not. But it goes for everyone in pro wrestling. I get I sound annoying. I get I'm on my soapbox. I get it comes across like a TED Talk. If we are going to be criticizing pro wrestling, we should criticize the characters or the personas, and we should leave the people out of it, because you do not know what anyone is going through in their real life. And if sometimes that does merge over into sports entertainment world, well, I still think we should give it a wink and a nudge and be like, you know what, we'll push it to one side. I'm not saying that that's happened here. I'm just saying that I do see some horrible comments about Charlotte. I'm like, don't think you should be saying that about anybody. You do not know this person, and if you did, you wouldn't be vocalizing it in a public forum. You would go and say it to their face. Some of it, I think, is just mean-spirited. And I sound like an old man, I sound like your dad, I sound like an idiot. I'm aware of all of these things. You should get mad and thrust your fist at me like the Lemon Tree episode of The Simpsons. But I still think you can look at this from a narrative perspective and be like, it still didn't really work for me. It just didn't, right? It didn't make me want to see that match. And in fact, it made me go, let's just do the match and move on, because that is the beauty of pro wrestling, I suppose. When you do a quote-unquote worked shoot, which CM Punk is awesome at. I'm always convinced, like, does CM Punk hate this guy? I don't know. But it still feels like it falls within the realms of pro wrestling, whereas this one just felt like it was out of control, and you never want anything to be out of control in wrestling, because it ends badly. I mean, it's the same thing that happened with Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax, when they seemed to have a real fight in the ring. But again, I don't know what was going on. So it's a difficult one. I think we're going to have to see how WWE capitalizes on this. Maybe, calmer heads will prevail and they'll be like, actually, we've got some good business here that we can leap on, and you can make this stuff work in hindsight if all of a sudden it does bleed into the storyline and there's just a bit more structure to it. But if anything is going on in either of their personal lives, I hope they're okay. Like, that's way more important than anything I'm going to see on my entertainment television screen. There's so much content too that we move on to having other discussions so fast, but these people still have to sit there with their emotions and their sensitivities. So I always like to think about the human side of pro wrestling. So if it is anything to do with anything that Charlotte Flair has gone through, then yes, it sucks, and I hope she's okay. And the only reason I kind of bring that up is because she did do that interview, and it didn't sound like she was having the best old time when she was rehabbing her knee injury. And I suppose if you kind of want to look at it on paper or dive into the rights and wrongs of wrestling, Tiffany Stratton did just show that she can sink or swim, right? And she absolutely swam here because she held her own. And if we hadn't have gone so personal, maybe it would have been better. But I don't judge either of them. I don't think either of them did a right or a wrong thing. You saw that too, like, I can't believe Tiffany said that stuff. We do not know the finer details of this. But yeah, I didn't particularly like it just because, again, it came across and made me feel oogly boogly in my tum-tum. And then amazingly, although this one obviously wasn't planned, the one we're going to talk about was, you then have Kevin Owens coming out and just giving you the worst news ever. Now, some people think this is a work, and look, I'm sure there is a 1% chance that it is. Because Kevin Owens, as far as I'm concerned, as we talked about before, is one of the greatest wrestlers ever. And a reason he's so good at it is he can pull the wool over your eyes. So if he does attack Randy Orton next week, I'd be like, man, you just took another step up the all-time list, because that's some good work. But from everything I know and everything that people have told me and everything that I read, I do think Kevin Owens has a very serious neck injury. And I do think, really, because I don't think that WWE would work a storyline like that. I think it's in bad taste, or at least it would be in bad taste for some people. So I always think we should try to take these things at red, because what a horrible thing to be told. Like, genuinely, I did a video about this. Kevin Owens is not... I need to think about this more, but he's definitely angling for that third position ever on my favourite all-time list. Genuinely, number 1, Bret Hart, number 2, Steve Austin, number 3, Kevin Owens. Again, I may need to come back to that, but the fact I'm even thinking about it, he's a modern-day GOAT. That's my catchphrase for him. And obviously, I don't want to say it's no surprise, but he's put himself through hell. Now, Kevin Owens' story to WWE is one of the most inspiring ones you'll ever hear in your life. When he was even working for Ring of Honor, people in ROH were telling him, you're never going to be a star. And he proved them wrong. And he got to WWE, and everyone thought he'd just be like an opening guy or an NXT guy. He proved them wrong, and he main evented WrestleMania twice, once of which was with Steve Austin, which is just dream come true stuff. So mostly I just hope that he is okay. If it is neck surgery, I mean, he could be away for a year. We've seen that before. Some people rightfully are like, well, is he even going to come back? Because it's a neck, man. It's super important, not just in your life, but even more so when it comes to wrestling, because you're falling on it all of the time. Obviously, in terms of what we're doing here on this video, it does make the road to WrestleMania 41 totally crazy, because with Charlotte and Tiffany, I think everyone is scratching their heads like, well, what do we do now? How do we follow up on this? And of course, if we take it all as read, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton will not be happening. And that is such a shame, because I actually think out of all the stories that we are doing, that was one of the ones, if not the one, I was looking forward to the most, just because sometimes it's simple but effective. Like, I'm not saying that Cena and Cody or the Punk triple threat doesn't have pros to it. Of course it does. But it was just so easy to understand what Randy and Kevin were going to do. And also, you just knew that Kevin Owens was super pumped for this, because it is Randy Orton who he looks up to. So it's really sad, and it sucks, and mostly for him and his family and his friends and all of that. I just hope he is okay and he can come back as soon as possible, or just have a healthy life, which is way more important. But yeah, who does Randy Orton face? He did lay out Nick Aldis with an RKO. I think I would do that. Right, I mean, it's a short build. You'd have to do it in a couple of weeks. But I think most people would be happy to see Nick Aldis get his one match, if not more, in WWE. He's done a great job as SmackDown GM. Even when he was in TNA and the likes, people were like, I think we should do more with Nick Aldis. Or at least he'd be like a Triple H guy. And of course, Triple H is running the creative side of the company now. I don't see why not, because Nick Aldis doesn't have to win. That's not a problem at all. He gets a match at WrestleMania, which again is an amazing story, much like the Kevin Owens one we just told. Randy Orton can get a win, which he does need, because he's lost a lot of his big matches. So I actually think that just works. WWE has so many matches apparently for this WrestleMania weekend. They can go 10 to 12 minutes. Randy Orton can still do the Punk kick. Again, even though we like Nick Aldis, Randy Orton is on such a high level we could get away with it. And the alternative was that maybe Sami Zayn comes back, but that's a hard story to tell, because even though him and Kevin Owens have been super duper whooper friends, obviously their last feud, Sami was very clear, I will never respect you again, my brother. So why he would fight for the... And also Randy Orton didn't do this. Like, no one actually put the finger of blame on Randy Orton, like, you broke Kevin Owens' neck. And in fact, there's an amazing interview with Kevin Owens that you should go check out right now, where he just did it in a normal match. No match is normal, you know what I'm talking about. It wasn't a crazy ladder match, but I'm sure it was just wear and tear, because Kevin Owens has always gone out there and busted his ass. Man, he's one of the hardest workers imaginable. So, really sad stuff. And I would take Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis. I would take Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn, just because it'd be a great match, just story-wise. You are backing yourself up against a corner. And then for our full-on narrative stuff, which I thought also hit a home run on SmackDown, we found out what the favor was. And I don't think it was anything sort of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It wasn't like a twist. It goes back to what we just talked about. I think keeping this simple makes more sense. So CM Punk comes out to start the show, basically tells Paul Heyman, hey, my brother, I'm going to tell you later when Roman Reigns gets here. Roman Reigns gets here right before the main event segment, so he runs the show. Seth Rollins comes out, because Seth Rollins, I actually think, is the secret glue that is holding this all together. Because he's like, I had an epiphany, man. I can't keep getting mad because nothing changes that. So now I'm just going to let things play out. So when CM Punk is stirring the pot and doing what CM Punk does, as Seth Rollins has said, that's your fault, Roman Reigns, because you wouldn't let me stop him. It then turns out the favor that he is going to ask is that Paul Heyman will be in his corner at WrestleMania, and that just adds all the jeopardy in the world to this triple threat. And if you want CM Punk to win, that's an outright there. If you want Roman Reigns to lose, that's an outright there. And Paul Heyman could even join with Seth Rollins. I mean, that's very attitude era in WWE, and I wouldn't do that. I don't think it works. But you could I'd have the faith in WWE in order to stick the landing. I just really liked it. I mean, what else was it going to be? You could argue a title shot, but if you had done that, everyone would be like, well, why does Paul Heyman have the power to give anybody a title shot? Really, this triple threat match should just be a number one contender match, and that could happen. So I don't want to say it's a problem because I'm fine with it, because WWE, Paul Heyman and CM Punk never made it clear. I do find it bizarre that now we know the full tale. CM Punk and Paul Heyman got together before War Games, and Heyman said to Punk, I will do anything for you as long as you help Roman Reigns. And CM Punk went, well, I'll tell you down the line. And Paul Heyman was like, right, that's cool. Even this episode of SmackDown, he cut a promo before the final angle saying, I'll do whatever it is. And what if I chop your arm off? All right, well, goodbye, arm. I don't need that anymore. So that's a bit silly, Billy. But again, it's wrestling, man. I think you can get away with it. And how does this sort of play out? Because Roman Reigns told Paul Heyman to turn him down, and Paul Heyman said no. So now you can start arguing maybe the relationships he has with Paul Heyman is more of a business one. They've made it very clear that he and CM Punk are best friends. I think that's pretty much true, but essentially in the story. And then this is why Seth Rollins is now important to this match. He's the outlier. What's he going to do? How he's going to take advantage of this? I mean, we talked about this in the video we did the other day. I would have Punk win with Paul Heyman, and he needs to pin Roman Reigns because Seth Rollins does something too. And then CM Punk and Paul Heyman should go after John Cena because CM Punk's already cut his promo on John. And then Rollins and Roman can have their singles match, which people have wanted for ages, because Roman could be like, Seth, you idiot, you cost me that. And Seth Rollins shouldn't be taking the pin. So many people, Seth Rollins only in this to take the pin. He's taken enough pins. I love Seth Rollins. I think he's brilliant. I think he's had a really, really great year ever since WrestleMania 41, when he got back from the injury, also from WrestleMania 40, I should say. So those three beats really have turned WrestleMania into something totally crazy. We don't know what's going to happen between Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. I would imagine, again, if we are to believe the nonsense, that management is probably sitting down with all of them right now going, oh, we need to fix this. Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton is off, which sucks. It really, really does. And now we know that manager-wise, Paul Heyman will be in the corner of CM Punk. And how's Roman Reigns handled that? Because the cool thing about the Roman Reigns character is that he knows he's great, right? In ring, he's got the talent, he's got the skills, but he's insecure as a human being, which is why he hates Seth Rollins, because he planted that insecurity in him when he did turn on the Shield. And now, even though Paul Heyman hasn't really turned on him, and Paul Heyman has always been there for him, it's somebody else leaving him. So essentially, Roman Reigns has abandonment issues, and I really hope we start to lean into it. Like, not too silly and not over the top and in your face, because right now it is sort of subtle, which wrestling rarely does. And Roman is so good with it. The laugh he did when Punk said, oh, Paul Heyman's going to be in my court this time, was half, yeah, right, and half, oh my gosh, don't let it happen again. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really, really good. And actually, now that Kevin Owens and Randy Orton is off, I think Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest and Jade Cargill versus Naomi are my most anticipated matches. Because again, you could explain it on a playing card if you know a playing card doesn't have a lot of space. Like, Damian and Drew actually has some of the most longevity of any feud that we've got going on. And Naomi and Jade is just like, Naomi is saying to Jade, you just walked in here and stole my spot. I've been busting my ass for 10 years. And Jade Cargill is like, yeah, so what? I'm going to throw you through a car. I would still like Bianca Belair to get involved in this, but we will wait and see. But what a crazy weekend, genuinely, given that WrestleMania is happening 2 weeks today, or night 2 will be 2 weeks today, as I am talking to you. So I'd imagine a lot is going to happen on Raw, and even more is going to happen on SmackDown, because obviously we have to follow up a lot of what we did on Friday night. But that's why you need to get in the comments. What do we do with Charlotte, Tiffany, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton? And of course, the CM Punk stuff. That's maybe the biggest question, given that that's way more of an easy thing to predict. Who wins? CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins? And of course, why? Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click that bell, ding, ding, notifications, and click the video on the screen. Just interact with this video as much as possible because it helps me, and I really do appreciate it. You can also go to grillermind.com/Simon to get 10% off all of their fitness supplements, and I use these. I think they're great. Patreon.com/Simon316, Simon316 on all social media. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller, Simon.BigCartel.com for merchandise, Simon J. Miller on TikTok, Simon Miller on Cameo, and I think that is everything. And yes, let's try and be nice to wrestlers. If you don't like them, don't say anything about them personally. You don't have to listen to me. Who am I? Some bald idiot on the internet, but that's just how I feel. And I do have a platform. If I don't voice my opinions, well, these videos are gonna suck. I'll see you soon.